Hi friends, welcome to Pilates with Tal. In this little flow, I'm going to be taking you through a series that works a lot with hip hinging, so strengthening the front of the body, core, hips, quads, all of the fun things. So let's get started. We're going to start standing at the back of the mat and just feel your feet grounding into the mat. They're about hip width distance apart. And whenever you're ready, we're going to send our glutes back behind us, hands in front. And then come up to standing, arms go back behind you, and we're pressing a bit forward with the pelvis as we come up. So lowering down, arms come out front, and then take it back. So besides that, not worrying about too much else in your squat, we're here just to warm up. So I'll give us refinement cues a little bit later. And here we're just moving the body. So we're here for 5. 4, if this is too much on the shoulders, just taking the arms a bit lower or in front of heart center. 3 more. Last 2. And on our last one, we're gonna pause in a lowered squat. So hands come into heart center, and we're gonna come up a tiny bit in our squat. Then we're gonna start to hinge through the hip with a flat back coming forward and using the front of our core to lift us back up to that halfway squat. So lowering and feeling the movement come from the hinge at the hip. So lower body stays stable, upper body stays stable, and we're moving. Feeling the front line of the core compress towards the back. Last 2. Last 1. So you may already be feeling this in the glutes. We're gonna keep going. From here, we're gonna come up to stand with the legs. So legs are straight. And then we're gonna reach the arms up towards the ceiling. And we're gonna hinge forward at the hips, coming into a flat back. Bend your knees slightly if you need to. And using the core, we're gonna come back up to standing. So still hinging through the hips. And if this is a lot for your arms, doing so with hands in front of heart center. So really picturing your core as you come to stand. It might help you get access to that area. For 3, 2, last one, hanging with our flat back, and then bending the knees a tiny bit, and then straightening them. So if your knees were already bent, we're bending them even more, and then trying to straighten through the backs of the legs only as far as you're comfortable. So we're not trying to cause any injuries here or over pulling. We're just stretching from where we can. We're here for 5, 4, back stays flat. Last 2, 1, and then feel free to bend your knees as much as you want. Let everything go, and then crawl yourself out into a tabletop position. From tabletop, we're gonna start with a couple cat-cows. So starting with your cow, and then your cat. Hands are shoulder width distance apart, knees are hip width distance apart, and not jutting the tailbone or head too aggressively. We're more so wanting to move from the spine, and head and tailbone are just along for the ride. Keep going, pairing your inhale with one movement, exhale with the other. And last one, we're gonna pause in neutral, so that's in between those 2 movements, and we're gonna plant nice and strong into the hands. This time we're gonna kick our left leg back, and we're gonna cat through the spine again as the knee comes in towards the nose, and slight cow through the spine as we send the leg back. So continuing just like that. And the trick here is trying to keep your hips, especially the front of the pelvis, stable, even though we're adding a little bit of a balance and gravity challenge here. For 5, last 3, 2, 1. We're gonna pause with the leg back, and then we're gonna drop our right elbow to where our right hand is right now. So we're open through the hips. We're gonna press into the left hand, press into the right elbow, feel strength through the right side body, and just hold it here. From here, we're gonna curve the left knee in towards the left elbow, and then kick it straight back behind you, and continue here for 9 more. So this may look like we're just working through the glutes, but it really is a full body movement, especially since we're pushing through the right elbow, keeping the right side body lifted. And then the left side is doing all the obvious things. Last 3, 2, 1, hold it back. From here, we're gonna drop the toes towards the front corner of the mat, and then big rainbow over towards the back. Front and back, and keep going here, maintaining height through the rest of the body. We're here for 6, 5, breathing through it. Last 3, 2, last 1, and holding it up and lowering down into a quick child's pose. Whenever you're ready, coming back up onto hands and knees, and we're gonna repeat the same thing on the other side. So pushing into the hands, everything's lifted. We're gonna send the right toes back behind us, and then come into a cat spine as your knee comes towards your nose, and cow spine as you send the leg back. Continuing just like that. For 5, keeping strong through the hands, looking down just a couple inches in front of your hands, back of the neck is long. Last 2, last 1, and then we're gonna hold the leg back as we drop our left elbow right to where our left hand is right now. And then let's just hold it here. So we're pushing out of the left elbow. We're nice and lifted through the side body, pushing into the right hand. And then we're gonna bring the right knee in towards the right elbow and then kick it back. In and out. And keep moving just like that. So really pushing into your right hand for stability. Pushing out of your left elbow for stability. And we're moving here while breathing. So the breath always helps us get through some tricky movements. That's why it's better to let it flow, not hold on to it. We need our breath as life force. Last 2. Last 1. We're gonna hold the leg out, and then we're gonna drop the right toes towards the right side of the mat, over to the other side. So big rainbows here. Keeping the body stable as the leg lifts and lowers. From the side glute, from the glute max, from the hips, the side body, so many things are working here. And we're here for 5 more. For 3, 2, and 1, and we'll pause and come into a child's pose. So give yourself a nice little moment here. Maybe sending the knees wide, sending the glutes back, pushing through the hands, feeling a nice stretch in the underarms. And whenever you're ready, starting with a tall seat, legs in front of you, you can either keep your legs straight or bent, whatever works best for you. Long legs might be better if you have tight hip flexors. And then just wiggling around on your sit bones to find a tall seat. From here, we're gonna take the arms out in front of us and then curve through the low spine, finding a half roll back, and then using the front wall of your core to lift you back up. Lower, 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 and lift. The next time you lower, you can feel free to row your elbows in towards your sides and then push your hands out forward as you come back up to your tall seat. Adding some arm work in, we're here for 4, 3, 2, last one. We're gonna stay in our half roll back. So find somewhere that you can do a bit of work from. Maybe that means coming up just a bit higher. And then place your hands one in towards the other one. And then let's take the right leg long, pointing through the toes. And we're gonna take our right toes and heels out a couple inches to the right, and then back to center. Out and in. And the trick here is you're wanting to lift up and over. So that's gonna help us get into the hip flexors. There's a really common misconception that because hip flexors are tight, that they're strong, but they're actually contracted, and most of the time that means very weak, because you can't strengthen from a contraction. So we still need to work on strengthening them and releasing them as well. So we're here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're like me, I was already feeling that, so we're gonna just do one side at a time. So just come up, take a second, wiggle from side to side, and then we'll go straight into the left side before we move on. So finding your half roll back first, extending the left toes out, and then we're gonna lift the left leg a couple inches and over, and back to center. 9 more, breathing through it, and focusing on the up movement. So you don't even need to try to have your hip flexors turn on. They're probably just gonna start doing all of the work here, especially on that lift. Last 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to center. Legs can either be straight or bent. We're gonna find our tall seat again, and then we're gonna take our half roll back. We're gonna take our hands in towards heart center, and then take the right leg into a tabletop position. And then we're gonna extend the toes, hovering them off the mat, and then bend the knee back in. Out and in, and keep going from here. So still working on hinging through the hip, just in a different type of movement. We're here for 5, 4, pushing hands one into the other. It's gonna help do a tiny bit of work through the arms. Last one, and we're gonna keep the leg extended and then bring it back in. And we're gonna twist the left elbow in towards the right knee. So twist through the spine, back to center. Twisting, this does not have to be a big movement. We just wanna make sure that our right and left sit bones are grounded equally into the mat, and then keep moving from there. Whew. Breathing. Last 2, 1, and then fold over. Take a little second for yourself here. And whenever you're ready, we're gonna find our tall seat again. First, we're gonna find our little roll back, and then extend the left toes away, and then into table. Extend and in, 8 more. So maybe if you come into a taller seat to make this more comfortable on the body, you do that, working from a position that feels best for you. 3, 2, 1, pausing in your table. We're gonna twist the right elbow towards the left knee, back to center, twist, and center, and keep going here. Last 7, 6, 5. So it can be a tiny twist. We're moving through the mid-core, moving through the mid-spine. Last 2, last 1, back to center, and then give yourself a little second to fold over the legs. From here, we're gonna find a bridge pose, but just as a counter pose. So find a comfortable position on your back. Hands are down towards your sides, and we're gonna push into the heels to lift the hips up off the mat, and then push even more so that you feel a nice stretch through the front of the body. And just hold here. Thinking about the stretch through the front might help you get there a bit more. And we're here for 3, 2, 1, and lower slowly all the way back down. Maybe taking a second to hug your knees in towards your chest, and then roll out from side to side, giving your low back a nice little massage. Whenever you're ready, we're gonna swing the feet, and however is most comfortable for you, find standing, coming somewhere in the middle of your mat. And then we're gonna continue with our squats again, just like we started in a little flow. So lowering down, sending glutes back, arms come out in front, and then arms go back as you come to standing. Continuing just like that, or maybe bringing hands into heart center if that's more comfortable for you. So we did a lot of work through the hip flexors, through the core. The legs did a lot too. So noticing if the squats right now feel any different from when we started this flow. And we're just noticing, not judging, just seeing how the body feels. So sometimes preps make big movements like this feel a little bit more gentle on the body, and sometimes they don't. Just depends what we're showing up with. So we're here for 3, 2, 1, pausing with hands in heart center, finding a little bit of a lift through our squat, and then we're gonna hinge through the top of the body and use your core to lift you halfway back up. Lowering, and then lifting, and continuing just like that for 8 more. So lower part of the body stays stable, and back stays flat. Lower half is doing a lot to keep us stable and lifted in this squat position. Last 3, 2, 1. Coming to standing, taking a moment here, and then finding your flat back with your legs relatively straight. Maybe they bend a bit, depends what's comfortable for your body. And then we're gonna come all the way up using our core, and then hinge forward. Using your core to lift, and using it to help you lower slowly. So we're here for 6 more. If you wanna add a bit of extra weight, you take your arms up, and then keep them straight towards your ears as you lift, and keep them there as you lower. Breathing through it. Last 3. Slowing down the breath for 2. Last 1, and then hands come into heart center. Take a quick moment to thank yourself, acknowledge all the efforts that you just put into your movement practice. And a big thank you for moving with me. As always, thank you so, so much.